Hey, everybody, welcome to What Drives Us, episode 500. And there's a little hyphen after that. It's not on the text, but nonetheless, it is in my head. Living in the past, look at this amazing assemblage of human beings who have given up and a dog, apparently.
And Indy's back there somewhere.
Just wanted to do a special episode with my friends. So let me introduce them, and then we'll start talking. My original co-host, the co-founder of the show, my co-conspirator, and something else that begins with CO. I'll let him insert that adjective. Mr. Danny Cooper.
It's the last name. It's Cooper.
Yeah.
It was right in front of you, Russell.
You're my that's why I miss you, Danny. Co Cooper.
I don't know. I'm very glad to be back. Thanks for putting this together, Russell, and forcing me to be on it by repeatedly calling me while I was on vacation.
He is absolutely true, and we were sending him obscene text messages up until about 8 minutes ago. Yeah. So Danny really didn't have much choice. I think we threatened his children, the dog, maybe the house. I'm not really sure. Definitely threatened the beard. That's all I got. Next up, my former co-host and friend and former Prius Experts team member, Mr. Tony Schaefer.
Hey, everyone. So, yeah, pretty much everything you just said could have gone to almost anyone. Yeah, so this feels vaguely familiar. It's kind of refreshing to do this again, and
kind of.
Yeah, almost. It's about
slightly
this much
better than raking the leaves.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how it gets.
Nice. Frequent guest, panelist, co-conspirator of ours on the Prius Experts group, and the president of Canada, Mr. John B.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me again. Yeah, just like Tony, this you guys look familiar.
It is a little weird, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's been a while.
Well, last and certainly not least, again, one of our original guests, Evan. Do you remember what your first appearance? I should have done my research. Where's my producer?
Yeah, I think we talked about in the last reunion episode what episode that was. It was somewhere fairly early on.
I'm thinking
like Amazing Tales episode 3.
Yeah,
isn't that it? Yeah.
And yes, folks, he does have an amazing tale, Dr. Evan Fusco.
Hey, Fusco, everybody. Yeah. So, there's a good story there, but I don't know if it fits on this show. But we can discuss later. But good. It feels great to be back. It's like riding a bike. It's great to see you guys.
Hopefully, there'll be no skin knees and no crying tonight. And riding a bike is what Evan spends about half of his time doing these days, if social media is any tell. I don't have an agenda. But I think Evan is the only one that watched. Did anybody else watch the Cult of Elon special?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, I have not yet.
Then
it's on my to-be list. If Tubi has my list
watch
feature.
Do I have Tubi?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. It's free. You can download it in moments. It's really well done. Our friend, regular guest Ed Niedermeyer's on there. Chelsea Sexton is all over it. And Lawrence Fossey, who did a special episode with us, is also featured prominently in the show. It's really well done. And I don't just say that because I want to castigate Elon. I would say maybe half of the show are people like Galley, whatever his name is, douchebag. I think that's his last name. I forget. Is on there. There's a whole bunch of other people that are pro Elon. So, they certainly try for a balance.
Yeah, they tried. I mean, I think there's a pretty clear bias. I mean, by the title of the calling it cult. I mean, you're sort of admitting your bias right up front, aren't you?
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, subtle. It was subtle. You don't do this kind of thing very often. You might not have noticed, but I think over here. You want to say hi to Tamara?
No.
Oh,
there she goes.
Got the no.
I mean, that's what drives us classic right there. Do you want to be on camera? No.
But there certainly were some level-headed, objective people on there, and Chelsea probably the foremost amongst them, and appropriately the can we call it a movie? I guess documentary closed out with a comment from her that I 100% agreed with, that it's all the right things happened, maybe not in the best possible way. And that's certainly not exactly what she said, but but yeah, there were some oddballs on there and some extremists. The Seeking Alpha guy, wasn't my favorite, but and Ed's probably not ever going to be a favorite, but But look, it was interesting. Yeah. And I think, for people that if there's somebody that hasn't picked a side, they might find it interesting to look at. And I think it's an interesting observation of the changing culture of business in the age of social media, right? I mean, it's things are not the same as they used to be. You couldn't have 5 guys in a room making all the decisions and power playing things. The social media, the influencers are called influencers because they do, and they can swing stock movements, and they can do all kinds of powerful things if it kind of happens the right way. And this is a pretty good way of detailing that. But
so Fusco, I have a question for you.
Yeah,
where are you now with Tesla? I mean, you were really early on getting your Model S. Where are you with your next car? Is it are you a Tesla man for life, or are you gonna kind of bounce around wherever it goes? Like, I've been told by my wife upstairs that we can never own a Tesla because of the owner.
Yeah. So I definitely leaning away from Tesla because of the owner, but if I were to buy a new vehicle tomorrow, it would probably still be a Tesla Model Y, because I still think it's the best full EV available right now that would suit my needs. But I'm off of Twitter. I just deactivated my account months ago when he started doing his crazy crap on there. I'm done with Elon. I just think he's a lunatic. But I think the things he's done with Tesla and the things he's done with SpaceX are positive things, and I still think Teslas are a good vehicle. We're on our third. I've got 50,000 on my Model 3. Tamara's got 118 on her Model X, and we had 100,000 on the S when I sold it. So it's a great car. I mean, it's reliable. I don't worry about it. I love it, and I think there are others coming along. I'm excited about the Ford F-150 Lightning is a possible future kind of all-around vehicle for me. We're looking at Toyota RAV4 Prime for Tamara as a new vehicle that's kind of a good all-around that we could travel around the country and not worry about charging with. So I think I've accomplished what I'd hoped to accomplish when I supported Tesla originally, and that was to use my money, which I was fortunate to have enough money to be able to afford a Model S, to support the vision that Elon was selling at the time. And I didn't really realize what a complete lunatic he was then, but he's a lunatic to get stuff done, right? And there's no questioning he's revolutionized the auto industry. He's revolutionized the space industry. It's undeniable. I mean, people that try to deny it are just haters. I mean, you have to acknowledge that those things have completely changed because of what he's done, but that doesn't mean he's not also an idiot and kind of a political nightmare.
Russell was talking about doing homework before the show, and had I known, I would have called through CU through all the old episodes and found the number of times we tried to hold a mirror up for you to see just what a raging pedo man, insane person he was. And yet there were individuals, some of whom, I'm sorry, one of whom is on the panel tonight, who stood tooth and nail defending every little pedo man thing he did. Sorry, that's just a term that I use where I'm from.
It doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. I'm not saying he's
They actually brought that up.
But if there are any private
they brought that
investigators
up in the
out there,
movie, the pedo man.
Yeah. I'm just saying, dude, some of us knew, and you were Tesla washed from the beginning. And like you said, the good things were done. I mean, even insane squirrels can find a nut every now and again. So I mean, good things were done. All boats were raised. The whole thing, but
Floated.
yeah, but it's like we had been saying for years, this is a good thing. It's a shame this boat of high hopes is being captained by a raging lunatic.
I was wondering if in the future we can separate the vehicle from the founder, from the owner, the co-founder, right?
Yeah.
Like the vehicles.
Well, now you can't call him the co-founder. He was not. He was not one of the two men who originally founded Tesla. He popped up and bought the company later. So
all right, fair.
We can call him owner.
Owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He bought the rights to be a co-founder.
Right.
I do think the wisdom of being able to separate the owner from the product is a valid point. I'm just not sure.
We're not there yet.
Years and years ago, I said my concern was making one person, anyone, but especially Elon, the face of green energy and electric cars is really, really, really dangerous. And God damn it, I hate it when I'm right. Okay? Because he's an asshole. And he's done some what he's done at Twitter is insane. The self-harm he's done to himself on Twitter is crazy.
I will say this.
No, go ahead, Dave.
Oh, well, I was just going to say that if I could go back to episode 1 of What Drives Us, I would tell that Danny to make sure he buys some stock and sells it.
No doubt, dude.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. Right.
I mean, and that's like, in one way, that's one of the common like pro Lonnie points is like, wow, the stock's done so well and the company but I'm not sure how that makes him a better human.
Well, I know that when, coworkers and people ask me, because they know I'm, deep into it. They ask about Tesla and they bring up Elon. And I always make it a point to say there are a lot of really smart people working at Tesla.
Yeah.
And I just leave it at that. There's because he may have been the one with the foot on the accelerator, go, making insane promises on Twitter that the people behind him had, he was writing checks to people behind him had to cash. But there were some insanely smart people, and there still are some insanely smart people at Tesla, at SpaceX, at whatever endeavors that are doing some insanely great things.
Well, I think on this
that's
show,
what I think is being lost. I'm disappointed that that's the part that's being lost. He has overshadowed the brilliance, the ingenuity, the geniuses of the people who are actually making the products.
Has he though? How? Like his personality?
He stole the show. He's literally stolen the show.
But they're still building and selling cars at a tremendous rate. They're still innovating at a tremendous rate. So is he a distraction? Sure. Like, I mean, no question about it, but somebody's still got to organize all those smart people, or they're just going to be smart individuals in a discoordinated chaos.
So you think he's micromanaging the entire corporation?
I think he probably is.
Yeah, actually, Tony, that's probably not far
Wouldn't
from.
put it past him. Yeah.
I think where I would disagree with Evan is I don't think that Elon's nearly as responsible for things as he likes to claim he is. But
well, let's go back to one thing that he is responsible for, and it's one I think this show is one of the first places to call it out, and that was the whole FSD, calling it, you know, a self-driving Tesla. That's the point where I just kind of was like, I couldn't be on board with everything that was going on over there, because it just seems so just, they knew it wasn't true. Anyone with a brain who paid attention to the space knew it wasn't true. And I remember talking on the show about how we were surprised that regulators weren't jumping in to amend how Tesla was referring to it as, because, you know, here we are 500 shows later, just about, and we still don't have a full self-driving Tesla, even though they'll sell it to you.
Only 15 grand.
Russell, is this the part where
Canada.
you smash cut into old episodes of us saying
that'd be a lot of work.
And I want to give everybody a chance to sound off about Tesla, but I also want to move on because I don't want this just to be the Tesla show. And I actually have another topic. So anybody else want a final word on?
No.
On Lonnie?
I'll just add that's that movie that covers all these things that we've talked about, from the investments to the innovations and what he really contributes and did. It to that end, I thought it was pretty thoroughly done.
I agree. Both good and bad. There's a lot of both in there. Cult of Elon, it's on Tubi, TUBI. If you don't have it, it's free. It's an hour-long show. I think it's really well done. You may not like everything. I didn't like everything in the show, but I watched it and I was engaged the whole time. So
I forgot who it was that said that if you're pissing off half the people, you did a good job. You know what I mean? You know, I mean, if you create something that everybody likes, you didn't really push the envelope. And if you created something, you know, all I'm saying is everyone who watches it should find something they like and something they disagree with. And that's how you know you did a good job. That's
fair. So speaking of Ed Niedermeyer, we were having a talk on the last show that we did together about something that all of us have talked about dozens of times on this show over the years. Alcohol? And it's interesting. What was your guess, Tony?
Alcohol.
We have often talked about alcohol. Yes, you're absolutely correct. No, constrained supply. And I think, and Ed was like, oh, wow, I'm working on something right now. I can't really talk more about it. But I've had this theory for a while now, since COVID, that COVID has presented businesses a very unique opportunity. And that is, and let's speak specifically about what we talk about the auto industry, about transportation. I went and talked to a lot of dealers during COVID, and it was interesting how happy all of those car dealers were. Now, keep in mind, these are dealerships with no cars in the lots, not very many salespeople, but they were still there. And why were they so happy? Because everything they got, they could sell instantly for thousands of dollars over MSRP. Because constrained supply. Oh, yes, Tony?
Mm-hmm. Assholes.
Oh, okay. So COVID, the main impact economically from COVID is probably past us. We are starting to see return to normalcy in supply chains and all of that other stuff. But interestingly enough, we're still not seeing a lot of cars. We're still seeing a lot of stuff selling for way over MSRP. And I think what the car companies have learned is you don't have to make $1 million. You could make 500,000, and you don't have to make $1 million and sell them at employee price and discount the hell out of them. You make 500,000 and you sell them at 10K over MSRP and laugh all the way to the bank. It's less taxing on your factories, less shipping. So tear me up.
Does any of that come back to the manufacturer?
There we go. That's what I wanted to know.
I was going to say it's not driven by the manufacturers as much as it is driven by the dealerships, because dealerships were having to pay for every day that a car was on the lot. They were paying a finance charge and a whatever the other charges are that they get charged for having a car sit there. And dealerships have figured out, hey, we can, like you were saying, Russell, we can do this without as many salespeople, without as many cars on the lot, without as much overhead, and we don't have to be future dealerships. We don't have to build as big of dealerships. I mean, we've got dealerships here in Charlotte that have parking garages for the cars that they were keeping in stock. And we're not talking about in like a central urban area. We're talking about out in the suburbs. So I think that they've seen the path to increase profits. And I think that the ability to get prices over MSRP has been an extra bonus on top of that.
So are you saying you think that's the case for like all classes of vehicles? Because our background, I mean, Tamara's interested in getting a RAV4 Prime, and the wait list for those is 6 months to a year or more here in the States. And I reached out to Diane Whitmire, and she said they're selling for $7,500 over MSRP out there. I reached out to a Toyota employee who is high up that we all know, and just asked if he had any tips or hints, and he came back and said it is supply restraint on their end, that they can't get the raw materials that they need.
So I do think that cars like the Prius Prime and the RAV4 Prime are still facing actual constraints that are being driven by resources. I think the Prius Prime is going to be one of the hardest cars to get this year. I've just found out that the Charlotte fleet that I would pull from to get a press car will not get a Prius Prime until at least 2024, maybe 2025.
Wow. God.
And that's a fleet that Toyota controls.
So then, so are you, by saying that, are you implying that for the rest of the cars that is artificially created constraint?
I believe so. For the most part, I think it is. I mean, they've figured out, it's just like you see it in a lot of industries. I think like you're seeing with apartments, for example. You know, you're seeing a point that they've figured out this point of how much they can squeeze people for, and they'll still be willing to take your product. And you know, car manufacturers, car dealerships have they've figured out that fulcrum point, I think.
But how's that work? Isn't the manufacturer pumping out cars?
Right. How does the dealer control it? Because we've mentioned many times on the show that the dealer gets the car that is sent to the dealer, and that's it. You get it. The truck shows up, it unloads a bunch of vehicles, and these are the cars on your lot. Sell.
Yes.
Yeah, but the dealers can then choose who to sell it to, right?
And the dealers choose
it, though, right?
Right, but the dealers are choosing how many they're asking for as well. So if they're only asking for, you know, if they figured out that they can sell X number of cars in this period of time and they don't need X plus 20 of that car on the lot, then they can say, hey, just send us, you know, this number of cars plus 5. And those are the number of cars that we'll have in our inventory. Okay, because the dealers...
But the manufacturer is going to have a backlog of the cars that the dealers aren't requesting.
Well, they just slow down production a little bit, and I think, but we're also seeing increases in sales like we haven't seen in previous years. But then you've got who was it the other day? I think somebody announced sales, and their sales were flat but their revenue was up by like 20% or something like that.
14%. Oh God, I posted that. Yeah.
Yeah, who was that? Anyway,
yeah, but
I mean, you look at the price of the new Prius. The new Prius, just up and up with prices. It used to be Prius would start at, you get a well-optioned Prius for $24,000.
Mm-hmm.
And now you could spec out just the Prius, not even the Prius Prime. You could spec out into the upper 30s.
Jeez.
Oh, it's hard to find one under 28.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my 17 Prime was like 32,000, loaded, heavily loaded.
Yeah. Now the top spec is 39,000.
Yeah.
My base my fully loaded 2018 Prime was 38.5 Canadian, and now it's 50.
Oh,
before taxes.
Was that like $1.95 US? What is that?
yeah.
Oh, that's so
There is,
cool.
but there's
And beautiful.
I don't know if is it provincial or is it Canadian incentives?
What's that?
Does it qualify for incentives?
Yes, we have two. We have a federal. So keep in mind, in Canada, they are all rebates. None of this tax credit thing that you have in the States. They're all point of sale rebates. So federally, there's 2,500 and 5,000, depending on the range of the vehicle. So now the Prime has a long enough range that it qualifies for the full $5,000, and then each province has its own incentive, and some don't. But
Evan, to your point about the RAV4 Prime, I think Toyota would prefer to sell, more RAV4 Primes than they do standard RAV4s. They just don't have the production capacity for it. And those are vehicles that are still built in Japan, whereas the RAV4 is still built in Canada, I believe. Is that right, John?
Yeah, Woodstock, Ontario.
All right.
And keep in mind that in Canada, it's at least a year where Toyota Canada stopped taking orders for the Prime, the RAV4 Prime.
Wow.
The GR Supra and the BZ4X, because they just don't have the units. And you'll be waiting for 2-3 years. Like you said, your wait time's only six months to a year, but up here in Canada, it's 2 to 3 years minimum.
Wow.
That's great. I saw, apropos of nothing, I saw the first BZ in the wild last week.
They do exist.
Sorry.
Huh? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I've seen a bunch here.
That's a car I don't. Well, I guess I don't know if I don't understand that car or if I don't understand the Lexus more.
Both? Can we go with both?
What don't you?
Both.
What don't you understand? What part?
Well, especially with the Lexus, the lack of range on it, the lack of any sort of segment pushing features. Yeah. It's like that. You would think this would be the test bed for where Lexus wants to push their new tech.
There's Direct 4. That's their latest tech.
Is it just me, or does it seem like Lexus is kind of like flailing a bit? Like
a little bit.
Their direction, like they want to be a race car company, they want to be a luxury car company. Like, do we need an IS 500?
Yes.
They probably had a bunch of V8 lying around.
See, I think this all started all the way back at the what is it? The CT200H?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they came out with that, whatever the hell that is, and
the HS200.
HS250H.
Like the hit crowd and the cool crowd, and it's this low slung F series hybrid, and that was a mess.
It did drive better than the Gen 3.
Yeah. Had a lower center of gravity.
Yeah. Nicer suspension. Yeah, you're
it was
obviously
such a diversion from, at least their marketing was such a diversion from typical Lexus. Like they were trying to re-identify themselves.
What I can't figure out about Lexus is that they, and Toyota, same company, is that they seem to keep talking about these innovations that they're working on. And it never makes it. They're either being so conservative with it that they don't want to put it into a vehicle until it's 100% done.
Have your hydrogen fuel cell car in your parking
Solid
lot?
state batteries.
Like,
all right. So I'll talk about solid state batteries if you want. I've got a story from the chief engineer.
do it.
Okay.
But the main thing I'm referring to
RZ.
is the autonomous driving. I feel like Lexus was at the forefront of that, was putting a lot of effort into that technology, and it feels like they are absolutely last with the OEMs. Now, their general safety tech is fantastic. It goes all the way down to their base Corolla. But I feel like at this point, Lexus should have had some Blue Cruise type of option available.
Lexus Teammate.
And
yeah,
I drove Teammate in Texas. It's really cool, but like I said, I told the developer, it's like not ready for prime time. It's very limited. It's very it's just very limited. You know,
you saying Team 8? Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry, Teammate.
Teammate.
What is that?
Teammate.
That's their marketing name. TEAMMATE.
Okay.
Like Copilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's their FSD, quote unquote, but it only works in certain
I mean,
places.
hell, at this
Super
point,
Cruise,
I would, I mean, at this point, I would be completely satisfied with the ability to drive on an interstate hands off. Just give me that. Because how many other manufacturers have that? Like,
3.
seriously, there's several.
Mm-hmm.
How, it almost makes me.
There's too many for Lexus to not have, something that they're in the lead with.
Yeah.
And I will say,
Go ahead, John.
Oh, just coming back to the RZ, has anyone sat inside one of those yet?
I'm sorry, which car?
Yes, the RZ.
The Lexus RZ.
I have
not,
RZ.
No. So it's a very mixed. It is quite expensive in Canada. Runs from about the low 60s to 84,000 for the executive term.
Wow.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of Toyota parts in it.
Oh.
So, and for 84, that is very hard to swallow. I will say that the Ultra Suede is a very nice interior, like the door panels and the seats. They're very comfortable. They're very luxurious. It feels great. It feels suitable for the car. And the design of I'm sure you've seen the photos. The design is quite great. But the buttons, the overhead buttons for the panoramic roof when you switch from transparent to opaque, it's not a soft touch button. It's like a loose button, the same button you see in a Gen 2 Prius, that overhead map light. Right? Like you can actually, I have a video and you can hear me clicking it. You can hear click click click. Like, it's not a soft touch solid button. It actually wobbles, and that surprised me. That really surprised me. Then there's a few other buttons as well throughout the cabin that screamed Toyota, and not even like Toyota Crown, like Toyota base Camry or Corolla quality, or base Prius quality, right? Mm-hmm. So that was disappointing for me when you're spending that much money.
I think that's a great observation. Where else? Let's see. So somehow related to all this is my wife and I are sort of looking at another car, at a new car. We want something newer. We love my 08 second gen Prius, but we'd like something with some technology from the last century or so. And because my 08 second gen Prius was a fleet model, it doesn't even have smart key.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow!
Yeah.
I didn't
package zero.
Whoa!
It's a package zero.
Now
wow.
I love this car, and it has literally saved my life. It is wonderful. Paul, getting it from Paul was amazing. But now as things have stabilized a little more, and we're looking at a new one, and Are you ready for the shocker? Here's my lead contender right now. I'm not saying I'm going to buy it, but it's my lead contender. The Maverick.
What is that? I didn't know.
You can do worse. The Ford Maverick.
Ford Maverick pickup truck.
It's their
If you can
small
find
pickup.
one.
It's hybrid. It's 40 mpg, and it starts at $22,000.
Wow.
Yep.
You still have to go way up to get the smart key, though. So you may still be without smart key.
Right. You start at 50,000. Oh, Jesus. And do I want a Ford?
50.
I mean, oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the utility, the pickup truck is fun. We could do, we're out here in California. We could do some camping and some off-road stuff in the desert. It'd be kind of fun. Yay. I'm absolutely hell bent on getting a hybrid or a plug-in.
I think if
I've
they were
never
sitting
seen a
on the
Ford
lot,
Maverick.
I probably would have already bought one.
A
But the
Maverick.
fact that they're not on the lot, enables me to not buy one. Obviously, and I'm not that interested that I'm going to put in an order for one.
Right.
Oh my
Right.
God, this is like extended cab kind of
It's
thing.
not bad. It's not a bad
No,
little vehicle.
it's a good, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Extended
four-door
cab, it's
vehicle.
like extended cab, like a
Again,
half bed.
It ticks
Kind of
all
thing
the
on it.
boxes, like there's
Yeah.
only two of us and a dog. I don't need a limo.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Having the truck is kind of cool. Being able to go a little bit off-road and in the desert and stuff, that's kind of cool because I can't really take my Prius into the sand. I've done that once and it was bad.
Yeah, I didn't say you can. You just might not make it back.
Yeah.
40
Wait, you
mpg is not
took
anything
yours,
that-
or you took a press car into the sand?
I have done both. What I was thinking was on Prius drive-through, we were down by the Mexico border, headed from San Diego to Arizona. And we came to the spot and it was literally like 100 feet from the border. And I'm like, oh, look, right off the freeway exit, there's some sand. I'm just going to pull off there, take a quick picture, and then we'll get back on the road. Yeah. Buried it right to the bottom.
Wow.
Well, that good
Not
traction
good.
control should have pulled you right out of
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've all seen how Russell packs. It was everything in the back of the car.
Yeah.
There was I definitely was not traveling light then, that's for sure. So I don't know. I mean, I just, for me, looking at new cars and constrained supply and all the things that have changed, am I going to spend $30,000 on a base Prius? Because that's my choice with Toyota. It's $30K and it's pretty much a base Prius.
How much are you driving now?
I'm sorry?
How much are you driving now? And how much do you trust that gas prices are going to stay at $3 a gallon?
Well, I mean, $3 a gallon. Where do you live, sir?
No, sorry.
Uh-huh.
Missouri.
Wow.
California. It's $4.60 a gallon.
Ooh.
But I drive a Prius 10 miles each way to work 5 days a week. That's it.
Well, Russell, I'll tell you where the real deal is right now.
Yeah.
The new used plug-in or EV tax credit that they have, $4,000 off, $25,000 or less vehicle, 2 years old or older, and the Prius Primes are about to hit that range. If you wanted to stay Prius, now the RAV4 Primes are not getting anywhere close to that.
Yeah.
And that's certainly the car that I'd love. I mean,
The Prime is a lower ground clearance than the Gen 2, right?
But you won't sink as far. Is what you're saying.
Look.
I mean, you'd be testing that acrylic grill,
Yeah.
that very fragile acrylic grill.
I'm definitely a budget shopper, and that's what's driving a lot of this. And so not to change the subject too abruptly, but GM announced today they're killing the Bull.
Yeah.
only
Paul.
diesel-
Yeah.
What the?
Wait, no.
Pour one out.
Russell, hold on. You did
Yes,
this
sir.
wrong.
Oh,
This
I'm
is
sorry.
episode 500. If the viewers remember, back in 497, Paul Guzik mentioned that GM is killing the Volt.
God, I hate you sometimes, Tony. Nice though. Thank you. It was
got the
actually
continuity
495,
down.
I think.
Oh, 495. Okay, yeah, I forgot which one. Yeah.
497. I have
497
it up here.
records tomorrow.
497.
I was gonna say, are you
497.
gonna release this out of order and just say to hell with it, or are you gonna hold on to this one?
No, I'm going to hold on to this one because,
Okay.
and I can talk. I mean, I'm doing a show with Michael Manring. We're going to do an hour long, maybe
cool.
more interview. And then I'm going to do a show with the current panel. And then there's this show. So I'm going to have 3 episode 500s come out at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Well,
we happen to know that in the next show that we're gonna, you guys are gonna talk about GM mistakenly killing the Bolts and focusing. They're pulling a Ford, is what they're doing. I mean, Ford killed their sedans and said we're going to focus on pickups and SUVs, and here we are, GM doing the exact same thing. The Bolts and the Bolt EUV are selling. They're upset they're not selling at Tesla rates, and they're like, well, then clearly no one wants these, and they're going to retool the factory and focus on trucks. Seriously.
So
guess what's hitting the used market in 2 years?
Yeah.
If Russell's talking about a truck, the whole market is taken over by trucks.
Yeah.
I would be happy if the Maverick was a sedan. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's not the form factor. I'm looking for the inexpensive hybrid that gives me a little bit of utility. Maybe. I mean, the Bolt would be fine. I'm not against the Bolt, but it's my only car. It's our only car, and I don't think that in 2023 that's the best decision for us, for my family, is an EV. I wish it were.
Yeah. I mean, following that thread, and this was my first thought when I saw that Chevy was killing the Bolt. Ford had the Taurus. Is it the Taurus?
Taurus?
Mm-hmm.
No, wait.
The family car, yeah.
Ford Fusion. Sorry. Yes, they had that. Okay, so it was the Fusion. The Fusion.
The newer.
They had the Fusion.
They had one of those too.
Conventional. They had the Fusion hybrid, and they had the Fusion titanium plug-in EV. Well, plug-in hybrid. And I drove the hybrid and I drove the plug-in. Those were fantastic cars. Absolutely fantastic. I loved it. Fit, finish, everything. The Entune dashboard, everything was brilliant.
Entune.
I know. But and then they killed it. They absolutely killed it. And then it's like, hey, look, Tesla's really taking off. It appears that people like cars that plug in. It's a shame we scrapped our entire line.
Darn us.
I mean, the Fusions were flying off the lots. It's a known model. It's, how many families have Ford Fusions? They could have easily transitioned into hybrids, easily transitioned into the plug-ins. Ford scrapped it and said, we're going to focus on trucks. Chevy's doing the exact same thing. They have an affordable plug-in that's a gateway car for people to get into EVs, and they're scrapping it so they can focus on trucks that are probably going to cost twice as much, which is just reducing the overall adoption and penetration of electric vehicles.
But they're also looking at Tesla and going, hey, all these people are buying $40,000, $50,000 cars. Why don't we sell a $40,000, $50,000 car with a ridiculously large profit margin? Right? Instead of a $24,000 car.
I get it. I get the business
model.
model. I get the business model, but the other 75% of the population would like something that doesn't cost $50,000, $60,000.
Yep.
And there's got to be a point where this stops, I imagine.
Yeah.
And I imagine that a full-on recession is what's going to have to kind of reset this stuff a little bit with the manufacturers. And I don't like defending Ford. I'm not trying to, Tony, but they are just going where the market's going. And
I get it. Yeah.
Toyota.
And frankly, we're lucky that there's a new Prius, because it's just It's just not where the market is.
Yeah, a little surprised actually.
Yeah, that's crazy. I just can't see the explosion in the size of vehicles. I want to believe that it's only a North American thing. I don't see the rest of the world buying mammoth vehicles.
Well, some of these CUVs are just they are station wagons on bigger wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like mine.
With a taller ride height. Yeah, yours is actually.
I'm a big fan of station wagons, but I just prefer them to be like Subaru sized instead of SUV sized.
Yeah.
So this is going to tie in just to where we are, but sometime earlier this year, I want to say maybe it was even late last year, Apple announced, excuse me, an aggressive new CarPlay that would not only project your phone screen on the little display, it actually had the ability to take over all the displays in the vehicle so that you could customize them through your phone. Really super aggressive plan. Now, we'll cut to not long ago. GM announced, hey, guess what? In our new EVs, no CarPlay. No CarPlay. Tesla, no CarPlay. Rivian, no CarPlay. I think in some ways Apple kind of overplayed their hand and scared some of the manufacturers. And I wonder if GM's play by announcing that no EVs would have CarPlay or Android Auto isn't just a like, yeah, you know what? That's our space. We're going to monetize it the way we want to. But let's make no mistake, CarPlay is super popular and is a big reason, is a big benefit for car buyers. Apple has the data. I'm not defending Apple here. In fact, like I said, I think they overstepped. I don't really need my phone to take over every display. I just want to be able to use my phone for music and navigation and basic stuff. Danny
So
has
two things on that.
Yeah, but
please.
Go ahead, John, please.
Oh, no, but I think the part of the appeal was the fact you can customize it and the way that Apple lays out its icons, the what's that skeuomorphic design is what's appealing to people, right? It's very clean and like buttons are large, right? You can stab it at that. You can find your numbers or letters when you're searching through like an album, that sort of thing, or artist playlist. Compared to what the manufacturers are able to produce, which they're still, producing head units where you're interacting with it while standing still, as opposed to while in motion. Now I know you're not supposed to, but which is better? It's trying to find a small button and while your fingers bouncing around, or a large pad where and screen where you can customize what information you want. And as Prius drivers, I think we're used to that kind of information, not necessarily overload, but just like having the ability to see what we want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was going to say two things. First of all, I think we might see more of this as some of these first contracts end between Apple and Google and the auto manufacturers. Because I think that the manufacturers have seen how much data they're giving up, how much money they're leaving on the table. And they're thinking that they can go on it on their own and do it just as well. In GM's case, they're doing a partnership with Google actually to kind of build the dash as a Google dashboard,
right?
Which I think what Volvo has done, or is that Polestar?
Polestar.
Yep. Polestar, yeah.
Android Automotive.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
yes,
they've done something different. I'm sorry, similar. And then second, I can't help but wonder how. So with Android Auto and with Apple CarPlay, you're getting a continuously improved experience and design and functionality, and you may not always see it. But there's always things being improved. And then like Android Auto just did a big redesign on it recently. And it's going to be interesting to see how GM and other manufacturers that move away from any of these features are able to keep their infotainment systems looking modern years into the future. I mean, I got into the previous generation Prius Prime at the Prius Prime launch event and was just flabbergasted at how ancient that software looks now. And so I can't help but think that maybe not in GM's case, because they're working with Google on something on this, but there's going to be others that are going to feel like they can do it on their own without anybody's help. And I have a feeling those are going to age poorly.
You don't
think they can do it on their own, just not well.
I was to say, you don't think they would build in over-the-air updates so that they can be continuously improved and upgraded to keep?
Well, I'm sure they will, but what's their? Why would they want to?
Quick interjection, if I may, Danny. How many crappy generations of a certain company's infotainment system were we forced to sit through demonstrations for? And every time just went, Jesus, please stop wasting tens of millions of dollars doing something that other companies can do way better.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I still have never bought movie tickets through my infotainment system.
You haven't used that Fandango app? Yeah, I remember. I remember being in a prototype vehicle with a unnamed company in an unnamed location, and viewing this, unnamed infotainment system as they were showing all the neat little apps that came bundled, and one of them was the ability to pull up your stocks. And I remember the guy, and when the guy was doing the demonstration, and he's like, oh, and you can book tickets, and here we can pull up your stocks, and you can save your stocks, and it'll go up, and it'll get down, real time.
Open table.
Open table, right? And I said, are a lot of people really checking their stocks on the fly? They're like, oh, they're at the airport, they just got off the plane, and they haven't been able to check their stocks. Like, really? Are people really like getting off the airplane and getting into the car, waiting until they get to their car?
Yeah.
To check
not baggage claim, not customs.
So I think your point is good in that, like, there seems to be a disconnect and an understanding of what technology people really do want inside their vehicles, and to the point that we still see ads for Wi-Fi systems built into cars, and like, who needs that? Everybody's got Wi-Fi on their phone, right? I mean,
dude, listen, no, Toyota gave us data. It was like number 3 on the list of things that they were told by focus groups that they want in their next car.
What?
I shit you not.
Who wants that? I don't want to connect a freaking car Wi-Fi that's going to be shittier cell signal than my phone.
And they have super small data allowances, and they're very expensive. But people, I think, are looking at it as a feature as like, oh, it's unlimited and it's included in my car, when it's not.
Right.
No. Yeah, I don't get it. But again, it's just, I think, and maybe it's how they're asking the question in the focus groups. I don't know.
Their focus groups are misleading them.
Yeah.
I will say this: the new system in the Prius is very nice. Like
the Toyota Audio Multimedia system, yeah,
it's cloud navigation. But they've gone back to what they did with Scout GPS, where it's cloud based and it requires a subscription after the 3-year trial.
Are you serious?
It's all about the
God.
dollar bills.
Yeah.
Evan, I have a question for you. Oh, I'm sorry, John. Please go.
Oh, sorry. There's one. I think it was Evan or Danny that talked about like the companies that are coming in. So Hyundai Motor Group, they are working with the next generation head units. They're running off NVIDIA platforms. Genesis will get the first set. I think some of them are installed in the cars now that will do over-the-air updates, not just the head unit, but the car's integrated systems too. So just like Tesla, in theory, they could adjust whatever stability control or traction control like with over-the-air updates if you need to do little tweaks. Then also, if you watch the Kia EV9 launch, they are leaning heavily into the subscription-based field, right? So, the front of the car, just like Audi, you can have, like, I don't know what it is, 8, 10 different light designs. So your car can look different from every other EV9 on the road. They'll give you one, it comes with the car, and you can purchase, all the other 8s. You can purchase a boost mode, for example, right? Like if you want the extra 100 horsepower, just like what Polestar did, right? Just if you want it in your car, go for it and purchase it.
Yeah.
So the functionality is built into the car. You have to purchase the key to unlock it.
Yes.
That's become a big thing with BMW too, right?
Yeah.
Heated seats, absolutely.
Heated seats.
A subscription for heated seats.
Heated seats.
Well, the EV9 seats are going to be able to do that turn so that the middle row faces the back row, but you have to pay the subscription fee to turn them back.
What?
It's actually not available in North America because of the
it's not.
Damn it.
Regulations.
Crash standards.
U.S. regulations. Yeah, because there's an airbag built into the seat.
Doesn't surprise me.
I do know the current head unit, again, not on our vehicles, but the current head unit, there is a Kia Pay, so you can use your vehicle to pay for, I don't know, like drive-through stuff or charging.
You just have to lift it up and hold it on the side.
Right at the connector.
Yeah.
Right.
Back it just right. Yeah.
I never thought
It's the entire console.
I never thought I'd be the guy who cheers for hackers, and suddenly I'm thinking, "Hack my car, give me free heated seats, you bastards!"
God. Again, you really need your car.
So I wanted to ask Evan. Evan, you currently own 2 cars that have no Android Auto or Apple CarPlay.
Correct.
I think, as I recall, you're an iPhone guy.
I am.
And you're a music guy.
I am.
How has that been for you?
Fine. I mean, I just Bluetooth music from my phone. I use SiriusXM for most of my music these days, but and I just Bluetooth stream it. It connects automatically when I get in. The Prius or the Teslas with some level of accuracy detect like who the driver is, and you can set a preference for which phone it connects to for people in the car. So when my wife and I get in, mine's a preferred phone, and it plays music from my phone. That's not a problem.
Not a big deal. Nope.
No.
So you wouldn't hesitate for a moment to buy a car without CarPlay or Android Auto.
No. We have a pickup currently that belongs to my father-in-law, but we're maintaining. And it's got Apple CarPlay. And after being frustrated with rental cars and trying to figure out how it worked, I finally kind of have it working well in this car. And I do like it to some degree, but I also find it just kind of a pain in the ass to hop around screens to get back to where I want to go and things. But it's nice. I mean, I like being able to pull up.
Did the Tesla guy just say, I don't like jumping around screens to get where I want to go?
I don't jump around screens at all in mine. I have them set and they just stay there all the time. I mean, other than that.
Isn't this the car that you have to like turn on the windshield wipers with a screen?
Yeah, but they're automated. I don't do really. I don't touch anything. I never the biggest pain in the ass is the glove box, and that's just because I forget that I can use a voice to open my glove box. But I don't hardly ever touch this display screens. The different apps are available on it to touch one touch at the bottom to grab those. So I mean,
I've
Russell,
never had
here's what I'll
CarPlay.
say
I've
about
never had
what
Google anything. I don't care. I mean,
I don't use CarPlay in my car.
Yeah.
Okay, John, what? You go. You got something.
Oh, I said I don't use CarPlay in my car.
No.
Believe it. I learned the native navigation system. I'm a human. I can learn.
Prove it.
Part of it is because the preconditioning is tied to the navigation system and also the head-up display. But yeah.
Yeah. I help manage a small fleet of delivery cars, and most of my drivers love the ones with CarPlay or Android Auto. And they're like, I want that car. I want that. And I got to tell you, I get in and I have my whole little setup, and it doesn't involve, and I love it, my phone, but it's way too annoying for work. If it was a pleasure drive or something, I'm sure it would be different. But yeah, I don't know. That said, this battle over subscription as a service, I just feel like the consumer is going to get crunched in the middle, and
it's not going away.
Yeah.
Well, what John said is the reasoning that GM is using, which is that Apple and I guess specifically Apple in this scenario don't have the capability to assist the driver with things like charge the
battery preconditioning.
Preconditioning based on where the next charger is, and setting that into your waypoints and stuff like that. Now, could Apple do that? I'm sure they could, but that would probably mean that GM would have to give access on a deeper system level than they're currently willing to.
I don't know how Apple would take over the speedometer. You know what I mean? Like change all those dash displays. Well,
we're still waiting on the Apple Car, right?
Oh, Jesus. I still think that's Project Titan. Yeah. Allegedly, Apple's still spending money and working on it. I don't know to what end.
Well, because Sony's into it.
Well, they're not really coming out with a car. They're just working on their VR headset so that you think that you're in an Apple car. It's a lot cheaper that way.
I was about to say it's the only way some of us are going to be able to afford a car in the near future.
Yeah.
Right.
Look, I have had Apple computers all my life and Apple devices. There is no way in hell I would buy an Apple car. None. Not for a moment, because Apple, for all the good things that they do, still has enormous issues with their software. And I would not trust my life to something that they built and designed from the ground up. Nope. Pass.
I will say one thing I really like about the new Prius design is that the speedometer multi-information display area it basically takes place of the heads-up display that we've had in the last gen, because it's really right there in front of you. And they did a good job designing it, I think, because it's very plain. It's just black background, white text, white numbers. There's some coloring for the safety features and stuff like that, but it's not like there's nothing crazy about it that is going to age it quickly, which I think we've seen in previous models of advanced tech cars.
It's a very clean design.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pick that speedometer font really carefully, okay?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Because, man, when I get in a fourth gen Prius, I just go like, it's horrible.
Wait, that's a fourth. That's what I have, right?
Sorry, Tony.
I don't mind it. See, it's because I was getting confused because
colorful.
The third gen made me want. I was dry heaving when that car was released. I have no idea what they were thinking with the dash on the third gen, but I don't find anything overly offensive on the fourth gen. My prime,
it's quite colorful.
I quite like it, to be honest.
And we're definitely arguing vanilla chocolate here, and I get that. I'm not saying that my opinion carries more weight than anybody else's opinion. If you like the font, hey, nothing wrong with that.
But why aren't we at a point where we're all choosing our own fonts anyway on all of these things?
Wingdings for the
Evan.
Because
subscription
would wingdings the whole.
Or subscribe. Yeah, you can subscribe to pick your font.
You can choose. You can download it and choose it just for 99 cents.
Yeah.
Apple will allow that. You'll be able to download a font, right?
We do
Yeah.
an impact, so it looks like a meme the whole time.
You got a
Oh my
theming. You can have
God.
like a beach in the background.
So I have a discussion question to throw out, Russell, if you don't mind.
Of course not.
I'd like to hear from everyone what they think after 500 episodes. What's changed the most in this little sector that we've found ourselves in with alt fuel?
I'll go last. Well, no, I'll go first if you want, Danny. It's your question.
No, you go ahead. Just kick it off.
Thanks. Now I don't get a chance to think of something witty to say.
So I don't have anything witty, but I mean, I'll go first if you want to.
Thank you, Evan.
So I mean, I think it's the obvious thing is how normal it is now to see EVs everywhere. Like freaking middle of Missouri, there are EVs everywhere. I can't go anywhere without seeing multiple Teslas and multiple other EVs, and they are definitely ubiquitous. They are definitely accepted. That are there still people that go, well, how does that work? Yeah, there's still a few of those, but I mean, the reality is people want them and are accepting them, and the culture around that has completely changed. When's the last time you heard somebody say, well, how long does the battery last? Like, won't it cost a lot to replace the battery? I don't hear that question anymore. Well, yeah, but you're in a weird world. But I mean, it just doesn't happen, right? I mean, the Prius, like, you don't hear that around the Prius. You don't hear about that around anything anymore, about people wondering how long the battery is going to last or what to do and how often do they have to.
At least it's not the first question anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Right.
How fast?
Yeah. I just did a quick search, and what percentage of U.S. car sales are electric? You guys want to take a guess?
It's probably still around 5%.
5%.
Well, according to this, 3.
Oh.
Yeah. And I see
a lot of freaking pickups sold, so it's
except here's only for California, 18.8%.
Wow.
California.
Wow.
Yeah, that's scary.
But the fact of the matter is, I mean, to Evan's point, you see so many more on the road, but it's still only 3%. I mean, and you guys were guessing 5, and I was thinking it was closer to 5. But that was, to me, that's the biggest thing that's changed over 500 episodes. I mean, when we started talking about, EVs, well, it wasn't even EVs. We were just talking about hybrids, right? It was like the Prius and the Insight. And, and we were talking at like 0.25%, if that.
Oh, wow.
We're like, wow, one of these days we're going to be at 1%. One of these days, 2% of cars are going to be, hybrids. And I mean, to Evan's point, and I'm in the Chicagoland area, and so my wife and I last weekend took a little road trip. We ended up down North Shore, Chicago. They call the Gold Coast. How do I know it's the Gold Coast? Because in one day, I saw 2 Lucids, a Rivian R1T, an R1S, and a Polestar. That's how you're in the Gold Coast. Teslas are table stakes. They're a lot of roads.
Truth.
But I mean, just driving around and seeing not just the EVs, but the hybrids and the plug-ins, and it's penetrated. So I've become more optimistic. To Evan's point, people aren't asking those questions; they're now just buying the car. That's pretty cool to me.
Yeah, I think expectations have changed throughout the years. Going from I'll take a look when I buy the next vehicle after they've just purchased a new one, right? So they're thinking 5-10 years down the road. Of course, the battery, like how long does it last? How much does it cost to replace it? Now it's more of right now the sticking point is the price, of course, right? It's like they want it, but it's expensive. Even with the rebates, right? And of course, the chip shortage doesn't help when there's no vehicles to test drive, no vehicles to sit in, right? And let alone actually purchase. So I've seen that, and I was trying to look up the stats here in BC, where last year I believe our province 18.1% of new vehicles, light duty vehicles, were
Oh my God.
EVs or plug-in hybrids.
Wow.
That's BC.
That's BC.
Wow.
So we surpassed Quebec somehow, which is pretty amazing. Because Quebec, of course, was leading the charge. They have a much larger rebate program compared to 2021, where in BC was 13%, so it went up, 5%. And actually, in the last quarter, Q4 2022, it's 20%. So I suspect 2023, again, barring
That's
any,
incredible.
yeah, it'll be 20% of new sales. So I see a lot of new vehicles. Like I've seen, the Solterra, the BZ, the Hummer, the Lucids. I've seen Lucids with Alberta plates because they drove it back here for holidays.
Wow.
Anything. I've seen a BYD like bus. I've seen like two Ford
Really?
E-Transits and like a box truck that was electric that I could identify. So they're around, right? At least here, like in my little bubble, the electrics are everywhere, and then like ones that you don't expect.
Yeah, I'm seeing
EQVs.
the Amazon trucks. The
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
what do they call them? The electric, or what? They had an acronym for them, but yeah, the
Okay.
the Rivian Amazon trucks. I'm seeing those a lot around here.
Well, what I was going to go with was the takeover. Well, I come from the community side of things, so the takeover of the EV community by a group that's more focused on stock performance than I feel like they're really interested in the cars themselves.
Really?
And the tech.
Interesting.
Like I feel like Rivian would probably have a much greater online push behind it, community push behind it, if their stock was like on the move. But their stock's been pretty blah for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I've seen over the last 500 episodes is kind of, and it's unfortunate to me because it makes me not as interested in it because it's not anything I want to associate with.
Do you think it's because of the Tesla errors that the people that did so well with Tesla stock that everybody feels like they want to jump in now?
Yeah, and I feel like there's a good percentage of people who talk positively about Tesla, not because of their interest in electric vehicles or their interest in the company doing well to help, future generations. It's because they have the potential or have already had the opportunity to do well with it as a stock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's
Well said.
Again, covered in that movie.
Well said, Danny
Okay.
Cooper. So cast your mind back to episode 1, January 20th, 2010. What EVs were available then?
Tesla Roadster.
The Roadster.
Think-
Was the RAV4? Was the
RAV4,
Gen
yeah.
2? Was the Gen 2
Not the-
RAV4 EV out?
No,
The
no,
Gen
no,
1.
no, not then.
But the Gen 1 was available.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I think
Well,
the
they
Gen
were
1 had come and gone.
Dead.
Yeah,
So-
I mean,
You
there
were
were
in
a few
between-
on the
in between
road,
gen-
but they weren't
But Ed
available.
Begley still had one.
Yeah. So for me,
Think EV.
Oh my God, the thing!
Really?
Holy smokes!
Wow.
How'd you pull that
what was
out?
the company making the 85 Corolla?
Yeah, that's the one I was trying to think of.
Coda.
We interviewed
Coda.
several
Coda.
companies.
Thank
Yes.
you, Coda.
They went out of business right after we interviewed them. So we got that.
I think that was our fault, actually. Yeah. Here's for me the biggest change, and I think all the points you guys made are really good, and I'm not going to disagree in any way with any of them. For me, it's that we're leaving so many people behind. The gulf of potential EV ownership. We have created a system. The market has created a system where if you have means, you can buy an electric vehicle. You own a home, you can charge at home, you can afford an expensive one, maybe that uses a vast charging network. We've
And read the
completely
benefits from it.
Yeah, we have completely ignored the idea that EVs are for everyone. EVs aren't for everyone. EVs are for you if you can afford it. And I get that part of that is we're still early in the adoption cycle, in the development cycle, and parts are expensive. And then there was COVID and supply chain and yada yada. And let's be clear. There isn't a company making electric vehicles today that is here as a nonprofit organization for the betterment of humanity. They're all in it to make money. And there's not a lot of money in electric vehicles. Most companies are losing money on every electric vehicle they make. They just choose to make them for business reasons.
And the credits that they can sell.
Policies, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead, Evan.
I was just so I can't remember who brought it up, but the used electric vehicle credit thing is coming in to the fold, right? And we are seeing and are going to continue to see more and more used EVs coming onto the market, right? I mean, there's somebody selling a 2014 Model S. I think it was a P85 for $35,000. I mean, they're going to become affordable. At least in that
isn't affordable.
It is if you can do math, and realize that it's going to save you in maintenance and gas and stuff over time. But you're right. I mean, if you have to pay cash, that's not right. I don't disagree with you that's still a hard pill to swallow, but there's also going to be Model 3s. They're going to come in under that. There's going to be the Bolts that are left. And, and Nissan Leaf was out there, acknowledging its issues.
Sure.
There've been some options out there, but I think you're right. I mean, the market's clearly been targeted at a different population.
But it's not a silver bullet. I think that's one message that we have maintained for 13 years, is that it's not a silver bullet approach. So you can't say, and I'm not saying you are, I'm just saying that, you can't say EV or nothing, EV or bust.
Right.
I mean, I have my Prime, and I tell people, I get this all the time. They're like, well, why didn't you buy an EV? Like, well, because I don't need one. Also, because I pay about a third the price. But, I could get 30 miles on a charge on my Prime in the summer, down to low 20s in the winter. I have a 16-mile commute. So do the math. I have an EV. 99% of the time, I have an EV. But when I want to drive to Indiana to see my family, I can do that on one tank. 450 miles uninterrupted, one tank. I don't have to worry about where I'm going to stop. Except that I have to eat and pee. But, other than that.
And that surprises me, is that the market hasn't taken to plug-in vehicles. And I think that's a CARB problem.
It's an education
fault
problem too, right? Because, going back to your point there, Danny, where, there's a certain subset of, pro EVs that are, and also to bring what Tony said, right? It's EV or bust, right? Like, if your car has an internal combustion engine, it's dirty, and without realizing that, hey, you're very fortunate to have a house, to be able to afford an electric car. Plenty of countries in the world that don't have stable electricity, never mind being able to afford a vehicle, right? It'll be more like a two-wheeled mode of transportation, and hybridization or plug-in hybridization can help push everyone forward, not just a certain subset. And I think that argument gets lost every single time online, right? It's hybrids are useless; they're going to die. Plug-in hybrids are useless. Go get a full EV. Except a plug-in hybrid, again, it's half the cost, easily half the cost.
Where did a lot of that sentiment come from? And forgive me, Evan, because I'm going there. But a lot of that bullshit came from Tesla owners because we have a long range EV. And if you're not buying this, you're stupid because you can't do the math and blah, 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 blah.
It's cheaper than a Camry. You're stupid for
Right.
buying a Camry.
Right. And when putting hybrid Camrys in people's driveways would be really, really helpful.
So, yeah, I think there was a certain reaction to the argument that they're impractical, right? It's a impractical. You can't take it across the country. It's a electric golf cart. You know, a lot of those arguments. And so, yeah, did we, plant a stake in the ground? Maybe as far opposite as to the truth as that kind of commentary was, probably. And I think maybe we're starting to swing back to the middle. And again, I know my wife and I are by looking at the RAV4 Prime because. Can I make it down to Florida to see my daughter and back home again in my Model 3? Absolutely, 100% I can make it. Does it take me 4, 5, or 6 extra hours in reality? Sure as hell does. I mean, it's a pain in the butt to stop and charge and coordinate all that and think about it the whole time. Whereas, when we just jump in the F-150 at 20 miles per gallon, I can get in that thing and go. I can take a 5-minute pee break at a rest area and get back in and keep going another 300 miles, right? And in a practical sense, on a long, 20-hour drive like that, adding 6 hours is no fun. You're adding extensively to the trip. So I think there's certainly a place and a role where I don't think charging is quicker is fueling up a vehicle that can go 650 miles on a tank of gas. So everybody's kind of find their way. I didn't choose EVs for my kids' first cars for a number of reasons. Part of it cost, but part of it also I don't trust them to keep the damn thing charged like they need to. They don't keep their freaking phones charged. So yeah, it's not for everybody. And I think I think there were a lot of reactions. I don't think a hybrid's perfect vehicle for everybody either necessarily, but
sure.
So does this? But does this get back to what I think it was Danny that said, or I don't know, whoever it was one of you guys. That businesses are out to make money. So, sure, it would be a great stepping stone to hybridize every fleet for every manufacturer. It'd be a great stepping stone. Get people out of 25 mile per gallon internal combustion engine cars and get them into a 35, 40 mile per gallon hybrid car, and then get them into a plug-in electric vehicle. But where's the money to be made? The money's made in EVs with huge markups.
And also with bigger incentives.
Exactly. So does that work against the greater adoption
credits
into battery-powered vehicles?
Like what if they said?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, just in general, we've moved away from focusing on efficiency first with all fuel cars. Look at the new Prius as a prime example of that. It's the new Prius is 200 horsepower, has I think lower MPGs than the previous generation, or about the same.
The LE has the same. The LE has the same. Yeah.
Yeah, but
the XLE
otherwise
don't.
Otherwise,
but 0 to 60 is better because every Prius owner is worried about the 0 to 60.
No, but that's what I'm saying, Tony. Is guess who cares about that? Nobody.
I know that's what
nobody cares about it because the market doesn't care anymore about 1 MPG incremental increases in efficiency. They care more about the driving experience, and that is something Tesla has brought to the market to their credit, and focus more on making it a good driving experience by bringing the battery and electrical side of it into play.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Right.
For our long-term good
exactly
or
right.
not?
That's to be debated.
Thing too, because if you can get more people into a Prius with 200 horsepower than 120 and 60 mpg, is that not better?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because the sales have dropped off. So again, they're
Your
getting
increase in
money.
efficiency is only if it's only 2%. Why do it? You're not talking about a 20% increase after every generation.
Yeah. No, and I agree with the from the Gen 4 and and now the Gen 5. The Prius is turning heads and getting good reviews from gearheads who are saying, "Oh
Yep.
my God, I can't believe I'm about to use the word Prius and sexy in the same sentence."
Yep. Or I want one.
Right. Yeah. And that's certainly not something you had in the Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3.
Yeah.
Unlike the RAV4 Prime is the second fastest car in Toyota's lineup.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, I will say though, the latest generation, and Tony will know that too because he has the Prime. They are very, very efficient. Right. I just hopped into our 2016 Touring, so the one with the 17-inch wheels, and for the most part, but for that week when it was raining, I got about 55 to 52 mpg, and then the one day it was dry, I hit 60. Like, like these cars are way more efficient than the EPA rates them at, right? So I wouldn't be surprised at the new Gen 5, even if it looks like on paper, it gets the same or worse mileage. I wouldn't be surprised with the new hybrid system. It's the same with the RAV4 Prime too. It's more efficient than the EPA suggests.
Russell, correct me if you disagree, but when I drove the Prius, I had so much fun driving it, I didn't pay attention to the MPGs. And when I got out of the car, I still was over the EPA number.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was definitely my experience as well. And I don't know. I don't want to be too Prius focused on this. I mean, at one time we were all Prius owners.
Yep.
That was the common thread here that started this. And I'm the only idiot that still drives a Prius.
Wait, hey, don't sell yourself
What?
short. I'm an
Oh,
idiot
wait,
too.
Tony. Pardon me. Tony.
I still have access to one too.
And my household still owns a Prius and a Highlander hybrid. So,
Wow.
Oh, you still have your Highlander?
yep.
Oh, wow.
2006 Highlander.
Yep.
It's got 216,000 miles on it or something.
Nice.
Is that your 04 Prius?
No, the 04 I've sold.
It's
But
a 2010.
the 2006 Highlander hybrid we still have, and then we bought a 2010 Prius for my daughter.
And
Oh, is that
Russell
what
over
she's
there
driving?
trying to
There we
claim
go.
exclusive rights to idiocy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. See, I always thought you were smarter than I was, Tony. That's...
Ironically, that makes me as the only person who doesn't have a Prius in the house.
I don't know.
That is ironic.
Yeah.
Did Toyota ever release sales numbers on the standard model?
You mean forecast?
What do you
sales?
mean?
Forecast,
Projections?
Yeah.
They did. I don't remember what it is, but
Remember
I know
when
the
that was
Prime
an
is-
important number?
I know the Prime is 10,000 this year and 15,000 next year.
And I do recall that Toyota USA said that will be 30% of the sales. Like 30%
Yeah, and
Prime,
that is
70% regular.
And that is solely production restrictions because the fourth gen was, I think, almost majority was Prime in the last couple quarters of Prius sales.
Right.
Yeah, well, the way they were priced was cannibalistic. I mean, if you got the top tier Prius, you could get a low to middle tier Prime.
Yeah, there's no reason not to get a Prime.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the same in Canada. But it's well, yes. But I mean, if you were to be spending that money, right, and you had a choice between the Prius, like the only reason why you take it is for all-wheel drive.
I have to.
Because the Prime is just right. The Prime is just even in hybrid mode, the Prime's way more efficient. Like easily 62 mpg.
Right.
In the summer, and in Canada, the projection for Gen 5 is 80% Prime, 20% Prius.
Wow.
Why even bother with the standard?
Because
batteries.
Yeah, and also our base model is all like the Prius only comes in all-wheel drive in Canada, because they know no one's going to buy the front wheel drive one because the Prime exists with rebates.
Right.
Well, and that 10,000 number for the Prime, the U.S. is getting by far the majority of the Prius Primes being made.
Interesting.
So even though Europe is 100% Prius Prime only,
Prime. We're
the US
80%.
is taking all of them pretty much.
Hmm.
And they will all sell. Yeah, I mean, you know they will.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, we are over 90 minutes, and I don't want to keep you guys. I mean, I'm more than happy to stay here all night, but I would be by myself eventually, and that would just be sad and pathetic. So, I just any final words, any topics, anything you guys? I don't want to cut anybody off, but have at it.
I just want to take a moment to say that I'm not surprised, but I'm amazed that this thing's going after 500 episodes. I think that no. Take this the right way, Russell. This is one scenario where I'm not being a dick to you.
Oh wow! Wait, let me call my.
We're
wife.
recording, right?
Number one, I think it says great things about where we are in the alt fuels, like we've been talking about tonight. Like it's, even though it's only 3 to 5% of the market, it's pretty impressive how much it has kind of seeped into our daily lives, seeing them on a daily basis, driving them on a daily basis, etc. But then secondly, just logistically, I thank Russell for keeping this thing going 500 episodes. I know I had to bow out because of just time factors with raising my family. I think when we started this thing, I only had one kid. And
you had
now
no
I've got
kids when we started.
Oh, I had no kids. Wow.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And now I got one in middle school and 3 total. So anyway,
Wow.
thank
you.
you.
Stayed on the show, maybe you wouldn't have any kids. You know?
Well, that's why I had to leave. But thank you to Russell for keeping this thing going. I think it's impressive that it's gone on this long. So thank you.
Thank you. I just kept doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Expecting a different result.
I'll own that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, if anybody had, I don't even know if we had this conversation, but when we started this, did we ever say, hey, what do you want to do for episode 200? I would have burst out laughing. Okay. Never. 500? We've done this 500 times? That's insane.
We used to bother to script it out, remember?
I bet I could dig that out.
Tony used to spend 6 days a week breaking the show up into little pieces so that we could put it on YouTube. I mean, I get the amount of work that Tony's put into the show is insane. And I missed his presence quite a bit, but you know, we're doing a little more streamlined operation now because I'm lazy.
Yeah. No, yeah, and you know, it's great to see you guys. It really is. It's great to have these discussions. You know, I miss the discussions. I really do. The level-headed back and forth. You know, I admit you're right. I admit you're right. Okay, you know, maybe I misspoke, and you know, I learned from you guys, especially John, because you know everything.
Yeah, no shit.
You know,
why he's the king.
Yeah.
President, not king. President.
He's the president of Canada.
Yeah. But no, it's just good to see you guys again. That's it.
Chuck. Anybody else? Anything? And I'm not fishing for compliments here.
I was about to say you're just looking for people to bestow
no.
comment.
Go on the street. I just finished my 500th episode of a podcast. Aren't you? Shut up! You're a freak. Go away. You know?
Well, I miss all you guys. I do miss being part of this show. I don't miss it eating up my life and my time. So it's that balance. So, but
and to the listeners, I don't think they understand how much work it does take, the amount of time it does take to put together the show.
Well, now in fairness, I was really just here to be eye candy all along, and take that much work.
How's that working out for you?
Those,
Well.
those
So
first-
let us know in the comments.
Very good. Let us know. And, oh God.
Hey, I just established a correlation. When we started, hybrids were, like I said, hybrids were less than 1%. And now, EVs are 3%, and then I looked it up, and hybrids are 8%. That makes us influencers.
Yeah.
Decades-long influencers. We were all Prius experts at one point, so
We
Yeah.
were. Isn't that weird?
Back in the day.
yeah.
It's just, the amount of time that's gone. That's what it is. It's not even the number of episodes. It's 13 years later. Oh, what? 13
We're all
years?
still here.
Danny has
We're all
children?
still friends.
You're right. I didn't have any kids.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, Evan always had kids, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, yeah. When did we start? You said 2010?
2010.
2010.
I had all mine by then.
Yeah, you had
That was-
you had children then.
But they're all grown, spread around the planet now.
Yeah. And isn't that beautiful?
It is.
There you go. Fusco repopulating the world. Well,
Just like Elon wanted.
Just like Elon.
you're such a good acolyte, Fusco.
Yes.
That's so beautiful. Oh, and Evan, don't buy a Model Y for the love of Satan. Don't. That is the ugliest fucking car ever made. Every time I see one, I can feel the bile rise in my
but
throat.
it's not the prettiest. I
Oh
don't
my
disagree.
God! It looks like a poison Model 3. It's just bloated. And,
I do love my Model 3, but man, the cargo space is so inaccessible.
Yeah. Well, and I get that, but that Y is so. And
But Toyota said it was the best vehicle.
Toyota what?
Toyota took apart a Model Y and said it was amazing.
Ugh,
Where's that article?
I don't know.
You guys
Okay.
chat.
I think they
Look it up.
fixed the panels and lined them up when they put it back together.
Probably.
I don't know. Anybody shout outs? Anybody? Evan, I'll start with you. You always have none,
What the
so
hell am I going to shout out?
I
Got nothing.
can't imagine.
No.
Okay. Tony Schaefer?
All right. No one in particular. Shout out to, I believe there are viewers and listeners. And I say viewers and listeners because it was an audio podcast to start.
For years.
I believe there are people who have stuck with us, stuck with the show the entire time. And I'm shouting out to you diehards. Thanks. It's pretty cool.
It is cool.
It's amazing. John B.
Well, so I did find the article, and it did say Toyota exec calls Tesla Model Y a work of art after teardown.
Well, it was a work of art after they tore it down.
Yeah. Look at those beautiful pieces.
But no, yeah, so shout out to anyone who's still listening after 90 minutes. Thanks for sticking through. I mean, not all of us were able to make it to the show, but you've managed to listen to all the episodes, so thank you very much. And getting us, or not, I shouldn't say us because I wasn't a big part of it, but say getting Russell to 500 episodes. Russell and Danny to 500 episodes.
All of us. We can all own this. All of you had a huge
Absolutely.
part in this. Make no mistake about that. And there's lots of people that had a huge part in the show too that aren't here. And yeah, I miss them and I hope they're doing well. And I'm glad you're here. Danny, you must have some shout outs.
Oh gosh, so many.
Yeah,
Everybody
I can't wait.
Sit back and get ready. No, I just want to echo what Tony and John said about everybody who's listened over the years. And I mean, I remember when we would do the show live and we'd have the chat functionality and people would get in and make comments about with a 30-second delay or minute delay or whatever it was. And that was always a lot of fun. So that side of it, I do miss doing, but everybody who continues to listen and watch, I appreciate them. And if you need to find me, I'll be at priuschat.com.
A real plug. There we go.
I fit it in.
Thank you. Coming up on 20 years for that, aren't you?
Yeah, 20 years in November.
That's insane, Danny.
Isn't that crazy?
20 years.
Wow.
And Toyota Legals let you get away with that crap for 2 decades. That's amazing.
Well,
Do you still get your annual Christmas cease and desist letter?
Yeah.
Now they send it with a bow like those Lexus commercials.
Here's your
So
present.
it really is a December to remember event.
It's Toyotathon from the legal department. Yeah. Cross that out. God, I don't even know what. Obviously, I need to thank all of these people that are here, and of course, thanks to the people that couldn't make it, that we didn't invite, just because I'm limited to a certain number of people on this app that we use to create the show now. But thanks to all of them. Thanks to all of the panelists over the years that put in so much work. Again, if you weren't a diehard, when we started, this show was an audio only show, and most of our shows clocked in over 2 hours. And
After edits. And wait, even more amazing, and this really kind of speaks to the relationship that I've been blessed to have with the people involved in this show, and that we would get together a half an hour sometimes or more before the show, and then after the show there was another half an hour or 45 minutes. So it wasn't just a 2-hour show, it was like a 3.5 hours of spending time with people whose company I enjoy. And that, not you see, I can't say this without like potentially offending anyone who's watched the show, but for me, getting a chance to spend time with my friends, getting a chance to talk about stuff we were passionately involved in, advanced tech mobility, sustainable energy, that's been I mean, I can't buy that stuff. If I could, I'd probably have better friends. I don't know. Wait, I don't have any money. I wouldn't have any friends. What? Yeah, it was. Okay. So I'm not really sure where I was going with that, other than to acknowledge, I think we've said many times that even if we didn't broadcast the show, we would still like to get together and talk. And I miss that. But I also really enjoy the new panel and where we're going, the new direction. We're doing a lot of different stuff that we didn't used to do. It's wonderful. I look forward to the next series of shows, and I'm not going to say a number. Anyway, thank you, Dr. Evan Fusco, Tony Schaefer, Danny Cooper, and John B. for coming on and reliving a little bit of our past. Thank you to all of you out there, whether you're watching or listening. Tune in next week and find out what drives us.